university's premier not anime show. It's a show I used to be a big fan of. However, after my descent into madness with Volume 5, I haven't kept up with the show that much. I was always aware of the show and its news, though, which includes its most recent release, the Studio Shaft animated Ice Queendom. At first, I wasn't sure if I would watch it, partially because of lack of interest, and also because I could not tell for the life of me how it was going to be distributed. Thanks, RT. However, I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the first 3 episodes were uploaded on Crunchyroll's YouTube channel. I thought, I have an hour to kill on a Sunday, why not watch it? And what happened next surprised me. After years of swearing off RWBY, I was watching it, and enjoying myself. After my aforementioned falling out, I really didn't think I could enjoy this series again. But here I was. At first I was going to leave it as I enjoyed Ice Queendom and that was it. But after talking with some friends, I realized something. I spent years disliking RWBY, more on the principle of disliking it than anything else. It had been years since I had watched the series in full, and I wasn't sure I had really been giving it a fair chance. So I decided, fuck it, I'm not doing much. Why not binge the whole series? Now, there are some things I will be avoiding in this little rewatch. I will not be watching any of the World of Remnant, or any materials like commentary or podcasts, as I really want to see how the show holds up without the supplementary material. And once we reach the end of this process, I may cover Ice Queendom. However, I want to let it finish its run before I consider that an option. At the point of writing and recording this, I have rewatched through Volume 5 again, and as I progress through this project, I will start watching more. Oh, and you may be asking, why make a video about it? Well, honestly, it's because I wanted to, and I wanted to practice my editing. Also, because I think if my friends that are listening to me talk about RWBY in one more call, they may want to shatter my kneecaps. So, best to avoid that. And of course, since I am recapping the plot in this little video series, spoilers for all of RWBY. But on that note, let's jump right in. Now to begin the rewatch, we start with the trailers. Yeah, as much as I want this to avoid supplementary material, I also believe the trailers are essential RWBY viewing and are just good content. So let's watch through these real fast. We start with the red trailer. As we pan down on a red hooded figure standing in front of a grave as she walks through a forest and arrives at a clearing where she is attacked by werewolves. She evades their attacks and draws her weapon. While at first it appears to be a gun, it unfurls into a large scythe. As the fight progresses, she displays immense skill with the weapon, firing at a range and swinging it effortlessly, and even using its recoil to propel herself. I think this may be a good time to take an aside and talk about the fights in this show. I don't think saying Monty was a savant of animation is an understatement these days. His animations are iconic. Even after over a decade, they still hold up exceptionally well. A lot of it comes down to some of his principles, mainly in regards to motion. Monty believed no motion should be wasted. It should always lead into another. We can see this in the trailer especially. Almost every swing in the trailer either deals damage to the opponent or lines up a shot for the sniper rifle. And even seemingly wasted motions are useful, as in this shot. At first it seems our red character has simply embedded the scythe into the ground for no particular reason. However, we see as she dodges an attack that it was her setting up a shot and her repelling herself into another enemy. And through this use of motion, Monty is able to convey weight exceptionally well. I don't need to describe to you how heavy Crescent Rose feels. You can see it just by the way it's swung, it moves, and it reacts to everything. And it is honestly amazing that Monty, being a self-taught animator, was able to produce animations of such quality that even some modern-day big-budget studios have trouble replicating. Just this level of quality. As well, his work makes use of this beautiful limited color palette. There is only white, black, and red. The white accentuating the blacks and the reds standing out regardless of if it's on the black. It's just a beautiful display all around. And with a stellar song in the background, it is a good start. There is one thing though. Many people will sing the praises of this trailer, saying how it's better than the entirety of RWBY. That may be the case, but while I love this fight, and it might be one of the best fights in all of RWBY, including the series and all the rest of the trailers, it sort of stumbles due to a lack of any narrative weight. The only thing vaguely narratively adjacent is the Red character at a grave. That had no significance according to behind the scenes information, but it was made a suggestion of the composer Jeff Williams to make it Red's mother, giving it some kind of narrative nuance. But that's really all it has. It would have been nice to see an allusion to something, either with some facial expressions or even through the music. While I will cover the music in a bit, the only thing they say about Red is... Red like roses fills my dreams and brings me to the place you rest. That's all. Overall, the Red trailer is good, though as a piece of what is admittedly only now part of a much larger narrative, it is a little bit disappointing. This trailer is really, really good style over any real substance. But that being said, it is a very good fight in a vacuum, so we are off to a good start. We move on to the White trailer. It starts with a girl in white singing at some sort of concert. As the trailer progresses, we fade down in a reflection of her, as we transition to her fighting against a large suit of armor. As the music picks up, I would like to take another aside to talk about RWBY's music. RWBY's soundtrack is produced by Jeff Williams, a frequent collaborator of Rooster Teeth at this point, and his music is honestly a big piece of what elevates a lot of RWBY's fights. For instance, the White trailer would be lovely to watch without sound. It displays excellent choreography and very good motion. However, the trailer is elevated by the song Mirror Mirror matching the fight beautifully. Honestly, all of Volume 1's soundtrack is very good. My personal highlights would be the 4 trailer songs, Red Like Roses, Mirror Mirror, From Shadows, Born with no life into subjugation, and I Burn. And there are plenty of others in Volume 1's soundtrack, but we'll get to that in our coverage of the volume proper. But it doesn't just stop at the music. I also think RWBY has a pretty good use of leitmotifs. For those unaware, in simplistic terms, leitmotifs are short musical stings associated with certain characters or events. For example, here is one common for our Red character.
In the world. Finally, some recognition.
This same company, infamous for its controversial labor forces and questionable...
And here is one for the star of our current trailer.
Isn't your ordinary combat school. It's not just sparring and practice, We're here to fight monsters, so watch where you're going. Hey, I said...
And the way they are used in RWBY is excellent. To jump a bit ahead into the volume proper for a good example, during one of the first fights, these motifs are used to emphasize who has the upper hand in a fight. Here we can hear Red's motif as she chases a villain.
End of the line, Red!
However, after he seemingly blows her up, it gets uncertain. And finally, as a new character is revealed and her presence shifts the tide, her motif plays. All of this from what could have simply been background noise if they wanted to, but instead they chose to elevate the sound by using these motifs. Altogether, these make music an essential part of RWBY. Also, most of it is butt rock, and I am a sucker for it. But, back to the trailer. We see the white girl fighting agilely with her rapier. However, she seems to have some kind of spells, given the many magical effects she produces through the fight. While she manages to hold her own pretty well, she does manage to take one considerable strike. And as the music crescendos, she prepares more magic and manages a barrage of spells that ultimately nether the win with an impressive final rapier strike. And the trailer ends as the concert finishes. Now before we move on, I wanted to talk a bit more about the animation, specifically facial expressions, especially in this trailer. Now, there were a few distinct there was one distinct facial expression in the Red trailer, but there were quite a few present throughout the White trailer that I think do wonders for potential characterization. Throughout the trailer, The white girl is either making no distinct expression or seems focused, determined. Except for 3 distinct moments in the trailer. First is after she is hit by the armor. She has this expression. In context, it seems maybe she's disappointed, distraught that she got hit. It's not clear if it's because she's in danger or some other factor. Then, the expression appears again, little later in the trailer, but it's clearer now. In this shot, she's disarmed the armor and is on the verge of victory, but she still has the same face. So, it's not danger, so what is it? Disappointment seems the most likely. Maybe she's disappointed she allowed herself to get hit. And then there's one more expression. Now this one is not related to what was going on with the other 2. Instead, as the song ends, we see the white girl snap back to reality, as if she was focusing on something else, more than likely thinking about the fight we just watched, not really being into or aware of the concert around her. Overall, these few short scenes set up potentially interesting characterization in a very subtle way. When many sing the praises of the red trailer, I think many people overlook the white trailer, and I hope it did it a little bit more justice today, because trust me, as we progress, I will not be kind to this character. But with that in mind, let's move over to the black trailer. We begin with panning down in a crimson forest where we see our title character and...
Blake, it's time.
Oh right, we are in voice acting territory now. And Adam is the first character we hear. Yeah, now's as good a time as any. The acting in the trailers, and a little bit as we move into the volume proper, is rough. Adam is the most unfortunate, but we do have other notable performances in the trailer. Our yellow character is a little rigid in her trailer, for example. However, as we progress, she gets more comfortable as the show begins.
Sweetheart.
Yes, Junior, I've got several. But instead of sweetheart, you could just call me sir. I can't believe my baby sister's going to Beacon with me. This is the best day ever! Beacon's our home now.
But we do have some solid performances in the trailer, namely Blake, who sounds pretty good even at this point.
Don't be so dramatic. Goodbye. Weiss Cheney, heirs to the Cheney Dust Company, one of the largest producers of energy propellant in the world.
What's most confusing about the rough bits is that at this point, Artie had about 10 years of voice directing experience, and we still have this many growing pains. I feel like this should have been the easiest part of the grand new endeavor of independent animation. But instead, we get awkward stuff like this.
Looks like we're gonna be doing this the hard way.
But voice work aside, the trailer continues with Blake and Adam, assaulting a train and having to work their way through robot guards. As they find some cargo, Adam wants Blake to set charges, though Blake is concerned about the workers.
What about them?
God, he really said that like he's the kind of guy who blends up your puppy and serves it to you in a smoothie. Anyway, before they can get to that, a larger robot attacks. Blake distracts it long enough for Adam to swoop in and get the final strike. In one of the most visually distinct moments I've seen yet. Damn, that shit looked good. As he finishes the robot, he moves to the next car. Before he can get there, Blake, saying goodbye, severs the car. She fades into a silhouette on red, ending the trailer. Aside from issues with voice acting, overall solid trailer. I think I enjoyed the first 2 a bit more, but overall, pretty good. And finally, let's hop into the yellow trailer. We start on our yellow character arriving at the club on her motorcycle. As she enters the club, we hear the music for the trailer, a medley remix of the first 3 trailer songs, including her own near the end. We see Yellow approaching the bar. She finds the owner of the bar, Junior. As they talk, she's hoping to get some info, so she...
You could just call me sir.
applies some pressure, so to speak. After getting nowhere with the info, and his goons arriving, she decides to let him off his leash. He makes a vague threat, though Yellow says he's being too sensitive and they should... kiss and make up? Okay, I'm gonna be honest. In comparison to the Black trailer, the performances are much better, but the writing is strange. Many people have said that the Yellow character is written really strangely. It's as if she was written by an AI who had been tasked with writing a female character whose focus is beauty despite having no relevant knowledge. I don't think I was that far off. I won't dwell on this point too much, as this particular criticism has been beaten into the ground at this point. However, I will touch upon one weird point in the trailer I think was a bit weak: the justification for the fight. Up to this point, characters seemed to have little choice about fighting or not. They were mainly thrust into conflict against their will. Red and the white girl were attacked, so defending themselves seems reasonable. And Blake and Madeline were attacking a train. Resistance was not unreasonable to expect. The only impetus for the fight here was Junior saying, "You'll pay for that." There's nothing else. I guess it could be she thought the thugs would make a move, but they seemed fine till she knocked Junior clear across the room. Of course, the problem with this line of thinking is, well, it really is me trying to find a fix for the problem. The trailer has little parts and details that could answer this question, but instead I'm stuck trying to do the trailer's job for it. A little bit of a disappointing footnote given how well put together these have been up to this point, but that in mind, we're now on to the good stuff. We begin the fight as Yellow begins punching her way through goon after goon, much like Red, using her gauntlet recoil to hop around and take out a fucking DJ bear with a Tommy gun? That is a real sentence I just said. As she does, we see two girls from earlier as they...
Melanie, who is this girl? I don't know, Milsha, but we should teach her a lesson.
should not speak again. They give Adam a run for his money. They fight with some bladed weapons attached to their clothing, one specializing in kicks and the other in punches. Hey, is it considered punching if you have 3-foot blades on your arms? Anyway, after they are dealt with, Junior returns with a rocket launcher bat. Strange sentences, this trailer. While he manages to keep up for a bit, she eventually breaks his weapon, but not before he grabbed a fistful of hair. However, this turns out to be a very, very bad call, as it sends her into a rage, as she knocks him clear of the building onto the street outside. We pan back to see a familiar character.
Yang? Is that you?
Oh, hey, sis!
What are you doing here?
As we end our run of trailers with two sisters reuniting.
It's a long story.
Overall, the color trailers are a stellar series of animation, showing off excellent fights, some concerning and interesting character setups, but overall making me want to see where it all goes. But before we end this part, I wanted to touch upon one of RWBY's main design motifs, fairy tales. Each of the 4 characters in the trailers are based off of famous fairy tales. Red is Red Riding Hood, White is Snow White, Blake is, well, we'll get to that in a later video, and Yang is Goldilocks. Oh, that's why the DJ was a bear. Though I don't remember there being a Tommy gun that was just right. Must have been a sequel. But joking aside, we can see Red's influence even extend to her trailer, as we see Red Riding Hood fighting an army of big bad wolves. And while these design motifs are very unique and prevalent in most, if not every character, and the parallels are fascinating to look at, to avoid extending this series by several millennia, I'll only be talking about it for major characters when it becomes relevant. But with that, we have reached the end of this part. While I had hoped this part would cover this and Volume 1, my script for Volume 1 was a little rough. But I felt this part was good enough to stand on its own. But with that, we begin this journey, and in my next RWBY video, we will cover the bulk of Volume 1, and see how the series progresses from the trailers. Hey, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Just letting you know that I will be starting to stream on Twitch, which will be linked in the description below. And while I will be coming back to RWBY, I definitely want to try some other things in the intervening time, so hopefully look out for a video that won't take me at least a solid month to produce. Catch y'all next time.